Hello folks! Today I'd like to talk to you about some simple preparations that you can take to survive a long-term disaster. Now, a disclaimer, I don't claim to be any sort of expert. These are just my thoughts on the topics and what I plan to do to try to make my home safer and to try to take care of my family. Now, often we think of long-term disaster as living without electricity or a long-term power outage, but we don't often consider all the areas that a long-term power outage can affect us. We think about the lights, the TVs, the computers, but in this video, I would like to focus on cooking. I'm going to assume that you have food stored and a source of water, but have you thought about how you're going to cook it? Some of you may say, as I'm showing here, that I have a gas range and I'm okay. But I would like you to consider a couple of things. First, how are you going to light your range? Those nice auto igniters will not work when the power is off, and most gas ranges no longer have pilot lights. Do you have matches or a lighter stick, and do you have them in sufficient quantities to light the range for, say, a month? Factor in 3 meals a day, coffee or tea, boiling water for purification, heating water for laundry, cleaning, and sanitation, and the number of matches you need for only a month can be in the hundreds. Again, alternatives to matches could be lighters, or even a spark lighter that I'm showing here on the right that you'd normally use to light a torch. Make sure you know where the spare flints are though. You could use a fire steel as well, but that does take practice and it does take about 3 hands to do it, and it can be a little bit nerve-wracking. The second thing I want you to consider is, what will you do if your gas range suddenly stops? The gas lines require pumps to keep the pressure up, and those pumps also require electricity. The other thing is, what happens if there's actually a break in the gas line? Now, if the gas range fails, or if I had an electric range, I plan on moving to my barbecue grill. But not this barbecue grill. Instead, I plan on using my camping grill. For between $10 and $15, you can buy a hose that will connect your backyard propane tank to your camping stove. That's the small cable that I am showing in the front. My camp stove has push button igniter, so I do not need matches to light it, although sometimes that is quicker. Also, the small camping grill should make the large propane tank last larger. You may want to think about having a couple extra propane tanks on hand for emergencies. I know some folks that do set aside multiple tanks. They are not that expensive and they can be purchased at Walmart, Lowe's, Home Depot, and your neighborhood gas station. Now, if you live in an apartment and having a large propane tank may not be possible, you can get the smaller canisters in order to store them. They won't last as long, but they will give you some longevity. As you can see, as I've added one there, they are not that large, and you could stock up on them fairly easy due to the price. Along with smaller propane tanks, there are also smaller backpacking stoves or sterno stoves. Care should be taken with these as some of them can be a little bit tippy. You can see the orange base I have on the one. They are also suited to simple meals or boiling water to add to dehydrated meals. On the left is a small can of sterno fuel and a sterno stove as an example. But if the gas stops or I run out of propane or these other fuels, then what can I do? Well, we can always go back to the oldest form of cooking, the wood fire. Backyard fire pits are not that expensive. Again, they can be found at your local hardware or sporting goods store. And all you need to do is scavenge for the wood for fuel. Again, having the means to light the fuel comes back into play, so don't overlook that. Also, if you plan on cooking over an open fire, you will probably want to invest in some quality cast iron cookingware. Now, some of you may be fortunate to have a wood stove or an outdoor summer kitchen or solar oven that you can use in a disaster situation. This video is geared towards folks trapped in suburbia where homes often do not have those features, and this video is geared towards providing low-cost alternatives that the majority of folks should have available to them. Now, some of you may have a generator and say, I am all set. I can use my electric frying pan, microwave, toaster, waffle maker, and coffee maker. I would ask you, how much gas do you have for your generator? My small generator, in conjunction with my solar panels, uses 10 gallons a week. Trying to run a larger generator for the same time frame jumps it to 40 gallons. The local gas station may not have a generator to run their pumps during a long-term power outage. Having sustainable fuel may be an issue if you're depending on your generator. So while I have one, I'm still going to make sure that I have additional options in order to cook and boil water. Again, for those of you who are at apartments where a generator just isn't possible, look at electric appliances that are made for truck drivers. There are toasters, coffee makers, frying pans, and even microwaves that can run off the cigarette lighter in your car. And while they may be low power or have sustainability issues, i.e. how much gas is in your car, they will give you a means of survival and meal prep. One last related item. Buy a large quality metal bucket or pot. Buckets are great and you'll need a lot of them, but most of them today are plastic, which doesn't go well with fire. In a disaster scenario, you will need and want to heat or boil water, and having a large metal pot will make this much easier. So in closing, hopefully this video has given you some ideas and possibilities for cooking during a long-term disaster. None of the items are very expensive, they just require that you plan ahead. And as always, failure to plan is planning to fail. Please leave me your questions and suggestions in the comments section. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe.